Hi guys, Julia here from JM Squared Vintage. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today with something a little bit different. So today I'm going to be breaking down all the ways to get maximum eyeballs on your listings without paying a dime in ad fees. You can source the best inventory in the world, but if you don't know how to get people to those listings, you are literally throwing money into the wind. So you guessed it, we are going to be talking about the algorithm, and we are going to be talking about keywording. And we are going to be talking about best practices to maximize your efforts in both of those categories. But before we get started here, guys, if this is your first time here, if this is your first time stumbling on my channel, first and foremost, welcome. I am Julia. That is my name. We talk all things thrifting and vintage and the business of reselling on the internet here. If that sounds like something that you might be into, consider hitting subscribe down below. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, we have a lot to get through today. This one's going to be kind of dense, so why don't you go grab your notebook, grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink. You know I've got my matcha latte. We're running low here. I've been running around all day. Sit back, relax, and let's get into the tips. Hi guys, before we get into the tips, I want to take a quick minute to thank Vendue for sponsoring this video. If you have been around my channel for any amount of time, you know that I have been using Vendue since basically day one of my reselling journey. They completely changed the game in terms of cross-listing, bringing cross-listing each item from basically a 10-minute job to about a 2-minute job. It literally takes just a few clicks to cross-list your item on any one of their platforms available, and they have all the big ones: Poshmark, Depop, eBay, Mercari, Whatnot, Shopify, Etsy, Vinted, Grailed, and they're constantly working to add to their portfolios of platforms. So not only does it make managing my inventory across all these different platforms way easier, their auto delist feature will register when a sale has been made on one of my platforms and automatically delist it from any other platforms that I have it listed with. The peace of mind that this brings is like unmatched. They've also launched their Pro Tools feature, which allows for offers and platform sharing. So for offers, you can send bulk offers to likers. You can also set it up to send auto offers after a like comes through. That way those offers hit the buyers at like a time when they are actually shopping without you having to babysit and be on top of sending those offers out. They've also just launched this week marketplace sharing, and it's not just Poshmark. We're going to talk a lot in this video about what it takes to keep your listings on the top of search results, and in Poshmark, honestly, sharing is one of the biggest tools you have in your toolkit. And this takes the work out of doing so. You can schedule sharing multiple times a day so that your stuff is constantly being refreshed and brought to the top of search results. It also has listing refreshing available for Depop and also bumping on Grailed. So truly, they are now the one-stop shop. Officially, I run my entire business out of Vendue. Let me show you how easy it is to set up automatic sharing. So let's do Depop here. So you come over here and you click into Pro Tools. Here's your marketplace sharing. So you have, again, Depop, Poshmark, and Grailed available. Let's set one up. So you set up your max amount. That just means that your entire store will be refreshed. You can choose which order you'd like to send it in, and you can choose your speed. And then if you want to schedule it, so for me, I'd like to schedule this a couple times a day. So I'm going to schedule one to go off at 7 a.m. and I'll have that set to go every day, and we're done. It's just that easy. Completely automating my entire business from one platform, one payment. Anyway, you guys know I love Vendue. I don't think I could run my business without it. So if you are interested in giving Vendue a try, click the link in the description box down below to get 25% off of your first month. Honestly, guys, you will wonder why you haven't done it sooner. Now, back to the video. So let's start really quickly with square one. There's a lot of people who are brand new resellers. This is maybe their first video that they're ever watching. Let's talk about what an algorithm is. If you haven't heard of an algorithm, it's basically the formula by which a search engine, and to be clear, all of the different platforms that we sell on are search engines, just like Google's a search engine, just like DuckDuckGo is a search engine. So it's the formula by which a search engine takes your input. So that would be what you put in the search bar matched with like your search history and your browsing history. So it takes your input and it matches it against the millions and millions of potential results and matches you with the most relevant responses. At its core, that is the crux of what an algorithm does. Each search engine does it a little bit differently, but the core components remain the same. There might be some different facets that DuckDuckGo uses versus Google. And likewise, there's different facets that eBay uses versus Poshmark. But the core components generally remain the same. They might just be mixed a little bit differently. And the thing to know before we even get started is we don't have access to like look under the hood and see the exact mix and the exact weights that they put on these different factors. But if 20 years in digital marketing has taught me anything, it's that if you generally play by the book and exercise best practices and don't try to game the system, you'll always be okay. If that is something that you are interested in, go and look at the nightmare stories, at what has happened to different websites and different companies that have tried to like game the Google algorithms and what happens to them after an update. Like there are thousands of stories like that. They get decimated. So that at its core is what an algorithm does. And ultimately, regardless if you are talking about the Google algorithm or you're talking about the Poshmark algorithm, your goal as someone basically on the input side is to craft your listings just like website owners should be crafting their websites to best play within the algorithm so that when you have an item for sale and somebody is searching for that item, that your listing is shown as high as possible. That's your goal. So as I mentioned before, we don't have actual visibility into the inner workings of these algorithms, any of them. That's generally a heavily guarded secret, and it's guarded so that people don't learn how to game the system, right? What we do know is that pretty much every search algorithm in a reselling platform has items that kind of fall into one of two categories. And that's going to be like item characteristics, like your listing characteristics, and then seller characteristics. So we are going to break down what these kind of main categories are, what they're looking at, and how you can operate in the system to stay on top of search rankings. So for your item characteristics, these generally fall into one of two main categories, and that's relevancy and recency. So we're going to start first with relevancy. And relevancy really starts before you get to the listing category, right? When you are outsourcing, however it is that you source, are you pulling inventory that people are looking for, right? So that's like first and foremost, that's almost a non-issue in this video, but it really does start before you even get it home, photograph it, and start to list it. So I want you, when you're outsourcing, to be running through these kind of questions as you're shopping. Like you can pick up the nicest white t-shirt that you've ever felt, but if there's nothing about it that you can write about it other than that it's like a white short sleeve t-shirt, I would leave it behind, right? Because you need to have enough stuff about that item to make it stand out against all the other millions of plain white t-shirts that are out there. Maybe it's got a great brand. Cool. Now we're talking. Maybe it's Gucci. Maybe it's a silk linen blend. Cool. That's something you can absolutely use for a keyword. Maybe it's a really unique weave, something like that, right? So like you need to be thinking about these things as you're sourcing. And when it comes to keywording, and I'm going to walk you through later in this video, I'm going to walk you through creating a listing, and I'm going to walk you through basically the process that I use when I'm listing, how I'm wording my listings, what I'm putting in the title, what I'm putting in the body, how I'm pulling out additional keywords. I'm going to walk you through that in real time. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. But the general rule of thumb is that you want your keywords, you want your listings to be thorough but not stuffed. And you might ask, Julia, doesn't more keywords mean more eyeballs on your listings? In theory, that's correct. However, it's a bad idea for two reasons. Number one, in general, algorithms have a factor kind of built in that's going to screen out things that are overstuffed with keywords. You could literally put a block of every word that pertains to every garment ever made in a listing. In theory, will that get all those eyeballs on your listing? Sure, maybe. But I'm going to guess that every single algorithm in every single platform that we work on has some kind of screening for an extreme block of keywords. The other reason that this is a bad idea is it provides a terrible experience for the buyer. I'm sure all of us who are watching this are also buyers, and we've had the experience where we search for a purple swimsuit and get results for a green pair of ski pants and like a gingham picnic dress. And then when you click into these listings, you see like bathing suit, purple, you see all these keywords in there. Like that's a terrible experience. The fact of the matter is, when you're working with an algorithm, it is a two-person dance, right? It is the algorithm that is sorting through everything, and it is the input that we put in. And when we are thorough but relevant, those two things together should provide the best possible results to the shoppers who are looking for something specific. That's the goal. We want somebody to say, I want a purple Land's End one-piece swimsuit with a racer back, and we want that to be what shows up, right? So when you sit down to write your listings, the first thing I want you to do is put on your consumer hat. Put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's searching for this exact thing, right? Again, we're going to go through all this later, but that's just the mindset that I want you to put on really for the rest of this entire video, because it matters and it will help you in the long run. The other component to this, and this is more or less specifically Poshmark based, one of the components that they will take into consideration when it comes to like your specific listings is the buyer's preferences. So for me, for example, I'm obsessed with Yoji Yamamoto. Absolutely love his work. I'm willing a piece in my size to come into my hands while sourcing. But when I set up my Poshmark, he's one of the designers that I follow. So if I'm typing in black pleated skirt and there is one that is by Yoji Yamamoto, that will actually go to the top of my search results because it is a preference that I've set, right? So that's just a little component. There's not much that you can do about that other than the fact that you are making sure that you're listing the brands correctly in all the different platforms. But just know that that is a component. If somebody has a preference set for a specific brand, that is going to jump those listings up in their search results. So that is the gist of relevancy when it comes to your actual listings. Again, we're going to revisit this in a little bit. So the second component when it comes to your item characteristics is recency. And every single platform has a factor of this, but we're going to talk about this in terms of Poshmark specifically, just because there's more you can do in Poshmark than in any other platform to make sure that you are kind of staying on top of the search results in terms of recency. So we're going to use that purple Land's End swimsuit again, right? So with Poshmark, there are two specific recency factors that you can kind of play with. Number one is recently listed, and number two is recently shared. Depop also has a function with this, with kind of refreshing the listings. But again, this is much more relevant in the Poshmark side. So when somebody puts something into the search bar, say our purple Land's End swimsuit that we're talking about, and we're going to make the assumption that all these listings are pretty much identical in terms of relevancy, right? We're leveling the playing board here and isolating the kind of recency part just to kind of give you an example. Say you put in the search, purple Land's End racerback swimsuit, whatever. So the first results that they're going to show you are going to be the listings that were recently posted, brand new listings, right? So say there's 3 brand new listings, cool, boom, boom, boom. They're going to be your first 3 results. After that is going to be your most recently shared. So that would be you going in and sharing your listing. So you can use something like a Vendue to like share your closet multiple times a day. So again, it's going to be most recently listed, then it's going to be most recently shared, and then it's going to be everything else. So basically, if you just list something and you don't touch it, right? Like say you have something that you listed 3 years ago and you haven't shared it and you haven't like refreshed your listing and relisted it, it's going to be all the way down on like the 10th page of results. And like nobody's going to get to that. I mean, if you look at like the click stats from Google going from like the first search result to the second search result to the third search result to like something on the second page of search results, like the drop off is exponential. So the results are going to be about the same no matter what the search engine is, whether it is Google or Poshmark. So you got to make sure that you are sharing frequently. Now, on Poshmark, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say with a caveat, the day that I am filming this is May 20th, 2025. As of right now, Poshmark just released this whole rule about excessive delisting and relisting, and it's still very much a mess right now. So as of right now, proceed with extreme caution with what I'm about to tell you. Hopefully over the next couple weeks, they will like fine tune this process and it will be a non-issue as long as you're operating within their terms of service. It's, you know, nothing's going to get flagged. But as of right this second, it's a bit of a mess. So until further notice, proceed with caution. On Poshmark, once they're like 60 days old, they're considered stale listings, right? So sure, you can share them, but at that point, you'll probably have enough newly listed listings to kind of push them down far enough that they're not even going to be getting visibility even with shares. So after the 60-day mark, what you can do is you can either copy the listing and make a fresh new one, or if you're using something like a Vendue, you can delist them. I always take that as an opportunity to go in and see if there's any ways that I can improve my listings and then relist them. I do that on all my platforms just to kind of keep everything fresh and up to date and make sure that everything is, optimized. Or if there's like a new trend going on, think about last summer, we had this brat green, right? Like lime green existed long before that, but I definitely had one or two pieces that, okay, after that album came out and it was Brat Summer and all that kind of stuff, I went in and I tagged it with like Brat Green and Brat Summer, and they popped off as sales like right after that. So always take those opportunities to go in, look at what you have, see if there's any new opportunities for keywords, add those in, and then relist them. And again, as of right this very second, proceed with caution. Maybe don't do them all at once. Maybe do a couple over a few hours, whatever the case may be. So when it comes to your actual listings, when it comes to your items, when it comes to what you are selling, relevancy and recency are your two biggest plays. Okay, now we're going to talk about seller factors in the algorithm. To liken this to search engine optimization on like a grander scale, the term that they use is authority. So for example, an authority speaks to the quality of the outlet that is posting the information. So, say you're searching something like best new cars of 2025, right? So you're going to have a million different like blogs that are out there, Joe's Auto Blog and this one and blah, blah, blah. The top results are going to come from the outlets with the most authority. So it's going to be your like evergreen, well-regarded news organizations, Wall Street Journal and New York Times, and also things like Consumer Reports, right? Those are usually going to be your top results there. And then you're going to have everything else kind of ranked in order of authority per their larger algorithms set of criteria. When we're talking about how this works in the kind of microcosm of a resale platform, it's kind of the same thing. What is your status as a seller? You can think of yourself as the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times of Poshmark, and like, how well regarded are you as a seller? So there are the kind of on the surface things that they very clearly communicate. Are you a Poshmark ambassador? Are you a Poshmark ambassador too? They do favor their ambassador listings in search results. How and where they favor them, we don't know, but we do know that they get some favor in search results because these are people that have proven time and time again that they give good service, they are here to stay, that they're going to answer your questions. Same on eBay. You have the top rated seller thing, right? So like, do you have a 50% return rate? Like that's not going to help you. You're not going to be a top rated seller, right? Like, what's your response rate? Are you shipping things on time? Are you providing the eBay customers with a good experience, right? It's one of the ways that they can reward you for providing that great experience to the buyers, because we are all in the interest of keeping the buyers engaged and shopping on the platforms. Knowing that when you are dealing with this kind of multi-seller platform, that like one terrible experience can potentially turn people off of shopping secondhand, it is very much in our interest to be providing that great service. So right off the top, these platforms have these programs that they kind of tell you what you need to do to get to the top. And I understand that a lot of you guys are coming in brand new, and I understand that that's going to take time. They are literally telling you what they want from you as a seller, and they will reward you with weighting your listings heavier in search results. It's not that often that we get like told how to reach the top. They're literally telling you how to do that. So that's going to be things like, again, speed of shipping. That's going to be your feedback. That's going to be your return rate. On Poshmark, that's going to be like how much you share, how much you engage in the community. So I would say sit down and take some time and read through all the different requirements for reaching top rated seller and all the different requirements for reaching like Posh Ambassador 2. And it can make your job a little bit easier as you go along. I promise you, if you are just getting started, before you know it, you will hit those marks. Another thing that all of the platforms look at is the frequency of posting, right? Like they want sellers who are actively engaged in selling on their platforms. And they will reward you with, again, kind of placing your stuff a little bit higher in search results. This isn't something that comes into play in achieving Posh Ambassador or top rated seller, but frequency of listing is very important. And I get a ton of people asking me like, Julia, what do you think is the most like ideal amount of listings to do per day? My answer to that is always going to be what you can sustainably list every day. You know, there's a lot of people who get started in this and they're like, I'm going to be putting out 20 listings a day and I'm going to be sourcing this and you really need to sit down and think about what is sustainable for you in what you're doing. And to be sure, like I understand that a lot of you out there are doing this as like a side hustle, or you want to build this up to the point where you can like leave your day job, you know, so like a 9 to 5, or if you're like a mom of 3 or whatever the case may be, like you're busy. You are not going to be able to sit down and do 20 listings a day and photograph 20 things a day and do all, you know, like it is a time-consuming thing. So if you are able to do 1 listing a day and that is what you're able to do, great. Just do 1 listing a day. You would be better off doing 1 listing a day versus sitting down on a Sunday night and listing 7 things at once and then not listing anything throughout the week. So say your goal is to do 1 listing a day, but realistically, you don't have 20 minutes a day to sit down and kind of write out a listing and do all the things that you need to do. I would sit down on that Saturday morning while your kids are at dance practice and soccer or whatever, and I would create drafts for all 7 listings. And then once a day, you can pop in and just list those listings, easy peasy. I always like to have a bunch of drafts. Like now I'm somebody, I do this full time. So like I've got time every day to sit down and write my listings. Like I block that out. However, I also have days where I'm traveling, or I have days where I'm out and about all day. I have days when I have visitors and, you know, I don't want to be dedicating an hour, 2 hours a day to doing this. I always try to have a couple days worth of listings in my drafts so that if something comes up or if an emergency pops up, like it's only going to take me 5 minutes to list things. So I'm still getting that kind of consistent everyday listing without really having to sit down and dedicate an hour or 2 on a day where I'm out doing something else. My little kind of hack to doing this. So say for me, I do 5 new listings a day. I will always write 6 or 7 new listings every day, knowing that the last 2 that I write are going to go into the draft pile. So it just kind of builds up a cushion for, you know, emergencies or travel or whatever the case may be. And it doesn't take that much extra time. I'm a big fan of like bite-sized chunks, and that's how I do it. But again, if you are a busy mom, if you are working a 9 to 5, if you just have time constraints, really think about what you can sustainably do on a daily basis and leverage the draft function. It's super, super helpful, and use the time you have available to you. So there are a bunch of little kind of like soft factors in the algorithm. And again, like the mixture of what these are, it's kind of unclear. We'll never know. But again, these are best practices to make sure that your listings perform as best as possible. You know, the first one is to think about image quality, right? And image quality is not necessarily as much of a factor for search, although it does come into play a little bit. This is more for the buyers, right? Like you want to make sure it's well lit. I often leverage a background remover, like Vendue has a background remover that you can just like click and the background goes away. So if you have a really cluttered room, like that's fantastic to have. You want to take lots of pictures, take detailed pictures. Like I always want to make sure that I'm getting a picture of the like clothing label. I always try to get a picture of like the contents tag, front, back. I always pull the sleeve out to show kind of the shape of the sleeve. It also helps if you have something that like drapes kind of together. It helps to kind of show the actual silhouette of the garment. Now you can go to the moon. You can get yourself a slant board. You can build yourself a studio. Like I'm just talking about the people that don't maybe have the funds for that don't have the space for that. Like I do not have the space to have a full studio. This is a very multifunctional room. It is my photo studio, my office, my filming room, my editing room, also my guest bedroom. So, you know, I'm operating in very tight quarters here. So take this with a grain of salt if you are somebody who's got a fabulous, professionally lit. So you can just disregard everything I just said. But image quality does matter, and it matters most to the people that are shopping. Do your best to get great shots, well lit, with a non-cluttered background. Copy, of course, comes into play. Is make sure you double check your listings and catch any spelling typos, right? If you're listing like a purple Land's End racerback swimsuit and you've spelled some of those words incorrectly, guess what's not going to get picked up by the search algorithm? I know it seems simple, and we all know that I have had typos. Like, everybody's going to have typos, but do your best to catch them before they go out. I catch at least 1 or 2 a day because I type real fast. And finally, this is a little tactic to employ. This really doesn't have much to do with the search algorithm, but it does have a lot to do with maximizing your posting time. Think about when you post your items, if you can. I understand that some people are working like night shifts, and again, some people are moms, and it is just like whenever you can get it in. Understood. But if you have an option, I would be trying to post my new listings at times when the most people are on the platforms searching, right? Like, if you are going to have that newly listed juice, you want that newly listed juice to be used when the most people are searching, right? And you can also take into consideration like what you're selling. So say you're selling clubwear, right? Like rave wear, stuff that somebody's going to wear to like Electric Daisy Carnival out in Vegas, right? You know, like that kind of stuff sells actually very, very well. Most of the people that are shopping for something like that aren't necessarily going to be shopping at like 8 a.m. You know, raves go all night. So they're either going to be shopping at night or they're going to be shopping like late afternoon. So, I mean, that's getting really into the nitty gritty, but I personally like to list around like 8 p.m. Eastern time, because that's when a lot of people are like, they're home from work, they've eaten dinner, maybe the kids are in bed, everybody's relaxing, and now it's scroll on the phone time. That's kind of when I like to list, but do trial and error, right? Like in marketing, you test everything. So yeah, do your best to list when your buyers are online. It's a simple thing, and I understand that that is not a feasible thing for everybody, but if you have the luxury of choosing when you can list, choose the busiest time for your listings. All right, so now I'm going to walk you through writing a listing with me. I'm going to kind of walk you through my process, and hopefully this gives you a little bit of framework. This should help you put a process in place to help you kind of flesh out those keywords that are going to get those right eyeballs on your listing. So I chose this cute little Show Me Your Moo dress. This is one of my favorite little brands to find. And I chose this dress specifically because there's a lot of keywords that we can pull out of this little dress. It's just a little mini white, kind of slightly stretchy crepe dress with little cutouts on the side, right? So just take that into memory and let's get started. All right, now we're going to go over to Vendue and we're going to write out this listing together. So in the interest of time, I've already loaded in the images and I've already started some of the copy. Just, you don't need to watch me write all this stuff out. But I'm going to walk you through what I did right. So in the title, this is always going to be your heaviest hitter keywords. So obviously brand first and foremost. If you know the name of the garment, you want that to be the next thing after the brand name. So like people will go to the Show Me Your Moo website and say, oh, that's a really cute dress. They'll come over here and they'll search Show Me Your Moo Tori. You want those like in order. Generally, the next word that I would have in there would be the color of the garment, but I have it a little bit later for a reason I'll get to in a second. So I just put cutout, mini dress, little white cocktail, bride, LWD, small. So little white dress is a word that marketers are using. People are searching for that for their kind of bridal era. So I make sure that that's in there with little white. And I use LWD just like LBD, like you would use for little black dress. Now you can choose to put the size in the title or not. I always do. I use sizes when I'm searching for myself, just because Poshmark's kind of search when it comes to sizing can be a little faulty. So I make sure that I have it available for people who are using that. I think it's a really important keyword. You can differ on that. Do what feels right to you. It is something that I do. Now, in the description, I always copy the crux of the title and I put it as the first line. The main reason I do this is because Depop doesn't have like a formal title in their listings. So you want to make sure that the first line of your description reads like a title. So that's why I do that. And then the next part of the description is where you're putting in your like key descriptive keywords. And when I'm writing this, if you're a little bit stuck on it, the way I like to think about it is pretend you're describing this dress to somebody who cannot see or feel the dress. So for this, it's fully lined white crepe with a hint of stretch. It's got cutouts on the side. It's square neckline, A-line silhouette, spaghetti straps, and then we'll add in adjustable straps. And to be clear, I separate those two for a reason. It might seem a little bit redundant, but people will search for both of these two features individually. Like for me, I'm short from here to here. So adjustable straps are something that I search for when I am searching for dresses. So I want to make sure that those two words are right next to each other individually so that people that are searching for one or the other are going to get picked up in this search. So this is mini length. And then I go into condition. It's excellent condition. And then I put the size again. Now, when it comes to condition, there are a lot of people that put whole big disclaimer blocks on there. Feel free to do what feels right for you. There's a lot of people who will put like disclaimers for color on there, you know, stating that like color varies from monitor to monitor, from screen to screen. Feel free to do so. Do what feels right for you. Do what feels right for your business, of course. Now we come into the keywords, right? And this is, I think, where a lot of people get stumped. And when it comes to keywords, I like to use, just like they used to use for the newspaper, the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why. So for this dress in particular, we're going to say who's wearing this. So brides, graduates. Fun fact, a lot of graduates wear white dresses under their graduation robes. And people are kind of surprised by this, saying that it's a new thing, but I am here to say that I graduated multiple decades ago and I wore white under my graduation gown. So not that new. Sorority girls. And another fun fact, and I know I'm not blowing any sorority secrets here, but a lot of sororities wear white dresses on their initiation days. You also want to add in bachelorette here. So that's the who. Next is the what. This is when you're going to get into like the descriptors, the style keywords. So like this is a contemporary dress. It's a white mini dress. And you'll notice that I use mini dress, all one word, when I have mini space dress elsewhere in the listing, right? It's cocktail dress. It's a little white dress. It's an LWD. It's formal dress. It's prom dress. It's homecoming dress. It's party dress. If this was any other color other than white, this would be like a wedding guest dress, right? So use that kind of mindset. Now we're on to the when. And the when is going to be kind of applicable more when something is like time specific. Say this is like a white fur trimmed evening coat, right? Like that would be for like a winter wedding. So, you know, not every category here is going to be applicable to every garment, but if you kind of think about it in this way, you're going to catch all the different keywords one way or another, right? So next up is the where. Where are you wearing this to? So you're going to wear this to a graduation. So you'll note that I have graduate and graduation in this keyword block. There's a reason for it. There is an old SEO joke, and if any of you out there work in SEO, first of all, you're probably not watching this video, but if any of you know somebody that works in SEO, there's an old joke that's been around since like the inception of the science, and it goes like a priest and a rabbi walk into a bar, a pub, a public house, a tavern, a watering hole, and it just lists, 87 different words for a bar. And there's no punchline to the joke. The punchline to the joke is that you have all these things listed. And that is basically how you catch all the different language around different things, right? So you have graduate, graduation, commencement, all these different kind of words that people can use for something like this. So you think about things in that sense, like, is there multiple ways to say this? Think like a maroon. You can say maroon, burgundy, deep red, vermilion, etc., right? So like you just want to make sure that you're capturing all the different kind of ways to say what you're trying to say. You're wearing it to a bachelorette party, a bachelorette trip, a gala. Another thing for a white dress would be like dinner en blanc, which is a big event that is held in a lot of big cities where everybody shows up wearing white. So that's your where, and then you have your why. And why, again, is going to be something that's like a little bit more utilitarian. So there's not necessarily many whys here that aren't already addressed. But if you're selling something like a pair of like shoes for cruise, right? So something like that would be like non-slip. That's a why. Or something that's like FR or flame retardant. You'd wear it for like personal protection. Or if you have something that is like that you would wear for like cosplay, right? So maybe you have like a steampunk jacket. A Y would be cosplay. You would cover like the what and the where earlier on. Cosplay would be the Y. Fill the rest out. In your tags, this is going to be something that's like used within the different platforms, and each platform allows different things. So I'd use little white dress, white cocktail dress, white mini dress. Make sure you have your category correct. This is something that will act against you if you get this wrong. So do your best to categorize these things correctly. Put in your package information, your listing, your costs, and that's it. And then all you have to do is go through and list on all the different platforms that you want to list on. And that's it. If you want to set this up as a draft, all you have to do is like save it on all of the different platforms. Just like go through and make sure you have everything kind of fine-tuned. There's a couple things that are presented differently in each different platform. It takes an additional, I think, 20 seconds, maybe. Just go through, make sure that those are all set, click save, and then when it comes time to publish it, you just click list, 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 and you're done. So that is it, guys. That is how I get the maximum amount of traffic to my listings. That is how I list my items. I've kind of walked you through from soup to nuts, my thought process and how I think about writing and crafting my listings. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any tricks that you use, feel free to drop them down below. But I hope it helps. You know, I come from a very long background in marketing, so this is very much second nature to me to think about things in this way. I know, especially if you are brand new to this and you've never done any kind of SEO in your life, like this has got to be an overwhelming thing to think about. But if you have those little tricks, those little ways to think, it will kind of do the hard part for you. I think it just gives you a little bit of a framework, and once you have the framework, it's just a matter of like filling in the gaps. So I hope you guys had fun. If you did, please consider leaving a like or comment on this video. Of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. I would love to have you along on this journey. If you have any other kind of content that you would like to see me make, don't ever hesitate to put it down in the comments down below. I love taking your suggestions. This one's been a suggestion from many of you. I keep a little list in my handy dandy book right here. But guys, I appreciate you all so much spending a little bit of your precious time with me. You have no idea what it means to me. But guys, I hope you all have the most beautiful weekend. Happy hunting, happy listing, and I will see you all in the next one.